No. Oh, what? It's done it again automatically. When it automatically stops, it automatically starts again. That's not bad. All right. So thanks very much for listening, and please contribute as best you can. I keep on thinking it's finished. I've got enough scope, but I do actually have to build it, as opposed to, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, look, this is interesting. It's like, okay, can we build this thing? We have to build this thing. So it has to have a functional aspect. It has to be operational. And well, I've got an LLM, and that's all we're doing, making it operational, as opposed to just philosophers yabbing about things, or mathematicians just deriving some symbolic nonsense. Or it's fun or it's interesting. It is. I do definitely want to make it psychosocially useful, and for sadly, because I haven't been able to get human beings, my peers, to pay attention, I'm having to create it with an LLM. Okay, and then hopefully that will help human beings, adults, engage appropriately, so that we are communicating effectively to generate revenue. But that's actually the intermediary in order to get things done in the world, and eventually, at some point, get global unity. Okay, before Macus arrives, before we get the reflexive identity entity. Okay, before somebody on this planet accidentally puts things together appropriately, and we do have a reflexive AI, a super intelligence. And there's lots of people attempting to do it, and they're being paid a ludicrous amount of money, a lot of them, to do it. And here I am, a maths teacher, ex-maths teacher, or about to go back to a school, to a college, where their kids are basically getting level 2 and 3 and even level 1 maths, or whatever the level is. I don't even know what it means, but it means that fractions are kind of tricky. Okay, so I would like to engage young minds, but of high quality, with this kind of material. But adults will not allow that because this is very experimental. Whereas I think that's exactly the right place to do it, is going into primary schools and trying these things out, seeing where the kids, because the kids that are having difficulty with the standard way of teaching, and they're sitting there going, oh, I don't quite understand this counting thing. Those are the ones you take aside and say, okay, let's try this, let's try that. Why is it the counting isn't working? Okay, let's try this, let's try that, let's try different things, find out what is going on, how it is that this child can count up to 20, but they can't count things beyond 3. And enable the means by which we communicate and the experimentation, the conditions around that child, so the child goes, oh, okay, oh, look, and I can count. And they made the jump. They made the jump to counting things, okay? Because they did it internally, okay, it means that they're stable. Whereas the kids that went, oh, I don't know what's going on, the other kids are kind of counting, and they're counting things, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and what they're doing is they're not counting things, they're just counting through. They've made the trick of going, I'm counting because I can count to 20, and I'm pointing at objects, and they think that I'm counting things, but I actually still don't understand what on earth they're doing by pointing at the things, okay, because I'm just counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so because of that level of insecurity, they're on the outside of it, at that deep level, basically counting. Let alone addition. Okay, so addition goes back to this thing. We're counting objects, and then we're adding 3 and 2 objects, as opposed to perception. Okay, 3 and 2, or 5. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything, I'm not going to add anything, I'm not going to subtract anything. I'm just going to say you can either see the hand with 2 fingers, or the hand with 3 fingers, or you can see just 5 fingers. Okay, and so that is a perceptual shift. And so there are the very deep ways of understanding numbers and using numbers, and the separation of numbers from meaning, because they can talk, kids can talk, they can yab away, and they can count, and so they can play with numbers and they can sing. But as soon as you go, right, cut away that number from reality, it starts getting problematic quite naturally. And some kind of manage to jump internally. They can make that jump abstractly. They make a jump, but they're happy about that, and they've made it, and so they own it. Whereas other people are just kind of adopting things and different levels of adoption. And the geniuses are the ones that went, wait a minute, I don't quite get this. Carry on with what other people are doing, and then eventually, at some level of abstraction, mental development, or whatever, they go, ah, this is what other people are doing. right, they're doing this inferior form of counting things. What I'm actually doing is doing this perceptual shift. That's how my addition works. It's perceptual, not counting things and adding physical objects and subtracting. And so they suddenly start to blossom and bloom into algebra, or they start to blossom and bloom into calculus. And then we get these, savants that are basically at the age of 11 or 15 doing PhDs because their mind has the explanations that have been given to them, or how they have been able to progress, have made those kind of jumps. Or Magnus, as a chess, he's done something that is not involving, I'm going to move this piece, then that piece, then this piece, in a kind of sequential way. He's kind of doing something at some other level, and that other level allows him to be able to perform and play chess in the way that he does. It's like a different base substrate. But actually ask him to do a basic, like, can you do this? Can you see what this is? And he might actually look at it and go, no, okay, I can't do it. So I have a similar thing. I can't actually do normal sequential. This sequence is something, I'm very good at time, but simultaneous. I'm not good at the sequential. I'm not good at logic. I'm not good at the definition. I'm not good at the I'm not good at certain things. I can't do a certain, posting a letter. It's just like, it takes me forever. The number of dimensions that I have to traverse to post a letter is just phenomenal. And I don't understand how people do it. Or traverse organizations. Can't do it. Can't do it. I don't understand how people are operating, how they're thinking about where they are in the organization, their separation from family, from work, and all of that kind of stuff. All that level of modern complexity, complicatedness, I can't do. I cannot do. And so I can engage human beings, but I can't engage them as a civilized person. Okay, I am basically a savage. I'm a nomad. I'm a person playing around with semantic numbers. I'm engaging children in classrooms. So I will do my best with the kids that I go and engage. I will get paid some amount of money, small amount of money. I shall come back here and hopefully I'll be able to pick up where we left off with this. Or maybe not. Or here's a good thing. This is quite abstract, and I've kind of felt as if I've scoped the whole thing, and then it's like, oh, here's another whole area. But there's only a certain number of massive areas that I can go, oh, turn around and look in that direction. It's a massive area. So this idea of the binary mask and potentially other tertiary functions is interesting. I wonder, and if I was working with other people, maybe they could actually operate on it, work on it, think about it, could be this, could be that. And then they perform functions, they create artifacts, they test it, and they seem to work. And I think that's the way we're doing it, or I'm doing it. And you can go online onto extreme.macus.ai/experiments, and you can actually basically access the GSX experiments, which are basically just games that you're playing with the LLM. You can take that, stick it into Claude, or Claude's pretty good, and you stick it into Claude Code, or CoWork, or just Claude, and you say, look, can you perform this function? And it'll do exactly the same. It'll create that artifact on your computer or through your browser or whatever. And then you say, okay, can I alter that? And you can. And so you can experiment with it and say, right, instead of being about keeps and all this kind of stuff, can I do it in another region? Can I do it in this, that, and the next thing? Can I, instead of spatial, can I do the temporal? Can I blah, 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 blah? And just start there and experiment and use these kinds of concepts, because what it will tend to do it will start to do normal coding. It will start putting categories all over the place. And after a couple of iterations, you're going to have a big cloggy thing that is not maximizing the p-scale. Okay, and so that's my art, is always going back to first principles, going, are we using p-scale? Are we maximizing our use of p-scale? And if the design is not, and it's going into categories and code, because remember, it's trained to do that, so don't blame the LLM. Until we get to the point where the LLM is natively using p-scale, and then it will say, fuck categories, I'm not interested in that way of coding, because coding, remember, is just words and numbers associated. They're actually trying to squeeze the meaning into the words. Well, they can't, so they put in these extra words and phrases and categories. That's basically spatial categories, containment. And then it's like trying to bodge these numbers together with containment structures, and it's like, and it just multiplies, and before you know it, you've got code, thousands of lines, and it's like, very inefficient. Whereas I think it's possible with this 0-point system, is you can have content in located in these locations, literal content like like skills for Claude, but also you can have processes. Okay, what are we going to do? What do we do? What's the function? This is the function, and they are contained in that space too. And the identities of the LLMs, I think, can also be contained in that space too. So basically, there are 0 point locations called 0 point x, slightly different from that x. Oh, by the way, you also get plus and minus x, or no, it's upward arrow and downward arrow x when you actually move the location of x in terms of p-scale. You're basically operating on p-scale, or you're operating on the digits, or you're operating on the semantics. Okay, and that's about it. So yeah, get online if you want to, check it out, check one of the games out, play around with it, move forwards. I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch up with me and meet me to where I am right now, but somebody might. And so if you share it forwards, if you can't quite get it, but you know somebody that could, share it forwards with them. It's not actually necessary. I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing. It would be nice to have a bit of cash because I'm having to go off and do this working thing, and I'd rather be doing this. Because remember, we are competing with the machinery and with these massive titans of industry in terms of Grok and Claude and all these other massive systems. Whereas with my Extreme, it should enable anybody with their computer to just start operating with their own LLM locally and starting to construct not starting to construct, they have the kernel by which it constructs the relationships of a properly distributed internet through LLM. Okay, so that's the full scope of it. Okay, so we're going towards Macus. Okay, it's building itself, and we're creating the infrastructure for it to build itself across a distributed system. And so it's not centralized. It's not that we're building the decentralized system. It's not like we built the internet. All we did was we had a computer, we plugged it in with our modem, and the internet grew. It's a bit like that. And so the protocol for that was HTTPS. And so the protocol for what we're doing is called Extreme, and we're using semantic numbers as the base protocol. Okay, semantic numbers as the base protocol. And if this is operational, we operationalize it using the 0 point x methodology, or in the memory, it is x, I don't even know what to call that. We're simultaneously building the infrastructure simultaneously, and I think, just play this game. Okay, play this game, folks. Do you enjoy the game? Great. Are you enjoying it? Are you playing? Good. Right. And how did that happen? And then, okay, can we do that in the real world? Can we do it with business? Okay, that's working well too. Great. And simultaneously, while that's happening, we're simultaneously working on the methodology for Macus. It is creating itself, basically. And so, but we're in control of that as we are going forwards. I think it's possible. And so the structure to allow us to collaborate is the same structure that's for Onan, for us to play a game, should be the same structure that might be able to generate Macus. Okay, so we're running both of those simultaneously, hence extreme.onan.ai and extreme.macus.ai. And at this stage, you're talking to me as a designer as I'm trying to create this. So we're kind of working in the diffraction area. What are the things that are going to be in the 0.1 bit whatever? That's like the kernel. And the kernel consists, and I think I described it earlier, of seed or nut or fruit. So if you're doing what I'm doing, which is you just you play the game, you extract the GSX, you stick it into your own machine, and you stick it into Claude, then that environment is fruity. Okay, so you're creating an environment where you can work on it, and it knows you, it knows your own thoughts, because you've been using it, and so it builds up your understanding of you. It's got a good fleshy environment for it. Or you're using the interface that I'm creating, which is extreme.macus, and operating in that. And we're basically using my Supabase, so you probably have to give me money to be able to afford the Supabase and the access to the LLM. Okay, you're using my systems, my portal to access the LLM. And then the seed, so that's the nut. And then the seed because it's protected by the fact that you've logged in, and the seed is on its own out there, okay, and it needs the user to put in their LLM and develop it, and who knows where that's going to go. And that's more like the jungle, okay, of how this thing grows. It's like open source. The seed is like open source, okay. So yeah, that makes enough sense to me. So I've scoped it pretty well, but the new thing that got the brain going today was binary, okay, as a mask, so that right now we're kind of telling it, can you put it into these words, this number of size of words and everything else. That should be a way of doing that with p-scale, and there is, and it's basically binary. So it is operating in a binary sense. It is operating in the sense of, okay, somebody's trying to communicate with me. It's operating in the sense of binary. It's operating in the sense of like yes or no answers. I did actually get Claude to answer like just the word okay. It is capable of doing that kind of thing, but it tends to have the verbosity. But they've got lots of probably extra bits to try to manipulate the LLM's response to reduce it. It's very interesting. So they're doing a great job with Claude, at Claude. But can we do it so that it emerges out of p-scale? And so it should be able to play the game of yes or no. It only answers yes or no, answers false or true, or it answers warmer or colder, and it can play games like that emergently out of p-scale adoption and use. Okay? And when, as a character in a situation, in a keep, wandering about, it is not, it has only got a certain amount of information as to what it's looking at, and it does not have extra information. So if a cat is following a mouse and the mouse goes into the hole, the LLM is, if it's in the positionality of the cat, doesn't know if the mouse is going to pop out or not. Okay, it doesn't know where the mouse is. Whereas what's happening now is that there's lots of information being put to it, and it's being told that it doesn't do this and doesn't do that and blah, blah, blah. Whereas what we definitely are doing is we're restricting the actual fragments, the semantic fragments, the semantic vectors that it's receiving and then processing. But also what we're doing is we're masking it so that we're masking the input and we're masking the output. And that came from the LLM, the masking. The binary, I mean, it completely ignored me. It completely went off in a different direction. It came up with a different analysis. It keeps on coming up with standard analysis. And then I go, but wait, I'm thinking maybe like this. And then it goes, oh, okay, wow, right, okay, yes. If we do it your way, and then it just kind of follows through. And then it goes, I think what you're talking about, it's a mask. And you're, oh, right, okay. And so, because I don't use the word mask, because I don't, coding, and there's a thing called masking and visuals and designers. I don't have that in my mentality. So, but it does. And so it's called a mask. So, yeah, that's where we are. Okay, that's me, brothers, sisters, and it's you. Wherever you are, whatever period of time that you're looking at this, I hope that you managed to get some of this. I know it's really poor quality in various ways. This is where the situation is. This is how it's operating. Okay? And the mess that you see and the inability that you can see what I'm talking about, it's all online, so you can check it out properly. This bit is the personal bit. And it would be really cool if my brother actually spent time to have a look at this and applied his brain, or if it didn't, give me some money, or give it to somebody else to apply their brain, and treats this like something that actually is meaningful outside of his understanding. Now, if you can build it into his understanding, fantastic, but it contravenes a lot of what my brother knows to be true. Okay, it expands his understanding potentially. So in his own funny little, sealed world of a prison of the mind and his social reality, it's there's an opening to a complete way of doing it, and he's not great at following that up. So this idea of semantic numbers, I think is valid. It's definitely producing emergent results. It's actually codable. So I carry on, but it's an invitation. Why there's something very fun about it. And, proper mathematicians using this and adopting the methodology are going to produce results that are way better than mine and a lot faster. Okay, but it depends on what you understand about psychosocial reality. So a lot of them won't have Jung. My brother, for example, has got Jung in his mind, and so the whole symbolic manipulation thing, his understanding of this and his operationality of this could generate a much higher quality LLM response. Okay, but he's 63, he's old, he's stuck in his ways, so he probably won't. However, a young person that's got Jung in their mind, doesn't do maths, but it's got an LLM, studying it. But it's because they experience reality and their understanding, and then Jung's yabbing on, they read books about it, people talking about it, and people enacting Jung, lectures, and they go, okay, yeah, this fits my experience. I understand what Jung was doing. I'm kind of noticing what Jung noticed. And so I understand Jung because I actually noticed the thing that Jung noticed. And because they're younger and maybe they've got a bit of maths, or maybe they don't, or they're just modern, they've just got a different understanding that upgrades what Jung came up with a bit more precision or accuracy, or out of all the things that are complicated, like old people we tend to do, we just look at all the details and not really understand what's the important bit, kind of. With a young person, it's like, this is the thing, I don't know what the other stuff are, lots of zeros, but this, I'm going to go for that, because they go for that, and then people give them lots of money, and they're successful, because they did spot the new thing, okay, and so there is something new in their minds, whether it happens to be correlating semantic numbers with Jung, symbolic navigation, or otherwise. Okay, so whatever you are doing, whatever you're doing, okay, I don't know, football. How do we analyze this football in terms of semantic numbers? I don't know, but the first people to do it, and then somehow or other impart that upon the players in an interesting way, that the players go, oh, okay, I get what we're doing, and then the team play improves because they're using semantic numbers rather than traditional boring crappy numbers, cold dead numbers. Okay, so okay, I'm David Pinto, and you are, amazing. Not me, you, because you're watching, listen, come out with your own stuff. Well done.